And good afternoon, everybody. This is Tony Fapiano coming to you from the studio at Guilford Community Television. And I have with me today a very special guest, Jim Goodridge, who is the owner of a drone. He's a recreational drone owner, I guess is the best way to put this. Jim, again, thanks for coming and thanks for bringing your drone with you. I appreciate it.
No, that's fine, but I think you should call it a quadcopter because that's really what it is.
Wait, say that again?
It's a quadcopter.
Okay.
A drone is something that the military uses.
Quadcopter meaning four
rotors.
Four rotors, okay. Yeah. And this is the drone. This is what we're talking about. Now, you know, in the media recently, there's been all kinds of stories and more interest, it seems, in this as a recreational item. And also, we're hearing more and more about these from the military perspective, what's being done in the Middle East and beyond with the military style. What's the difference between this drone and ones that we hear about that are being flown over Iraq, let's say?
Well, they're two completely different things. The only thing they share in common is the fact that they fly. That's it.
And they're both called drones.
They're not both called drones. This is called a quadcopter.
Okay.
A drone is something that the military uses to shoot terrorists or to take pictures of terrorists or whatever, or surveillance that they do. This is strictly a flying camera. That's what this does. You take this up and we take video and we take stills with it.
How'd you get interested in this? And when?
Well, about last December, something like that. I just have always been interested in photography, and this was just a way to push that envelope a little bit more, just to do something else that was really interesting. The great thing about these, and that you really should remember, is this brings a perspective, a point of view that you don't get any other way. I mean, you can take aerial pictures from helicopters or airplanes or satellites, but that's good for an overall view from much higher. This gives you a viewpoint from between 60 feet to 400 feet, and you don't see things that way normally. And with the drone, you do. It's really interesting.
Okay, we're hearing more and more about these, so they're becoming more prevalent, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, what you're hearing is a lot of hysteria as well. Which I don't think really has a place. I mean, for instance, you're calling it a drone, and people are legislating rules and whatnot. I'm not saying there shouldn't be rules, there should, but frankly, there are 375 million cell phone cameras out there, and there's about 15,000 drones, and there's never going to be as many drones as cameras. And this doesn't even have as good resolution or get you as close as another camera.
Right, so you're alluding to the invasion of privacy aspect of what some people are concerned about.
I was.
Okay, but is that an issue? Is that something, if someone was of that mindset, that they could use this quadcopter?
Thank you.
For purposes of our discussion, I'm going to refer to it as a drone, and the title of the program is Drones.
I understand
that. But if somebody is of that mindset, could they also use this for invasion of privacy?
Of course, but you can take your cell phone and peek over a fence and take a picture of somebody sunbathing too. I mean, this does make it a little bit easier for that, for instance, but this particular drone, or now you've got me doing it, this particular quadcopter has a very wide-angle lens. So to take any real definitive picture or close-up is very hard to do. You'd have to be just inches away. That's not to say that technology isn't there, that you couldn't do that, because with more money and with the furthering of technology, you will be able to do that, let's face it.
Okay, let's talk about the aspects of this unit itself. There's four
motors, four rotors, powered by 4 individual engines, powered by a lithium battery. The reason why these are...
I'm going to tilt this so the camera can get a shot. Sam, can you get this?
Yeah, this is the camera down here. It's hanging down, and I'll explain why that's doing that in a minute. These are shock absorbers for absorbing, obviously, any shocks that this goes through in the air.
Okay, and what's the resolution on this camera?
Well, in video mode, it's a 1080p camera, and it's 16 megapixels. So it has a good size sensor. So the quality is fairly good, but it is a wide angle camera.
And you control this from that. pick that up and tell us what that's all about.
Well, this is the obvious controller. You've seen these for when you had an RC airplane or an RC car or whatnot. I mean, it's the
Or a
exact
video game for that matter.
Yeah, it's similar to that. I mean, that's where video game controllers came from, really. I mean, one controls the pitch and one controls the altitude and whatnot, and it also controls the rotor speed as well, so that meaning that goes up and down. But there are really three things going on here. One is this connects to the quadcopter by a transmitter. This is a receiver and this is a transmitter. This is getting its instructions from here. But the main unit also has GPS, so it gets up to like 12 GPS satellites that can lock onto it at any one time. And what that does is, if it's flying and there's a lot of wind or whatnot, this will be controlled. I can take my hands off the controls and this stays in one spot. It'll just hover even in a wind. In fact, you can hover it about this high and go over to it and just kind of throw it to one side. It'll come right back. And anyway, that's the second thing that's connected, is GPS. And you also have Wi-Fi.
But the GPS is something you have to set in order to have it do that.
No,
to be in that position.
No, it turns on when you turn on the unit. The GPS is seamless. It's holding its position. You can see in the monitor. This is a cell phone, obviously, but it also works as the monitor for the quadcopter. You can see what the quadcopter sees. You can see the altitude. You can see the speed, and you can see how many satellites it's connected to, for instance. And this is connected to the camera by Wi-Fi. So you have Wi-Fi, GPS, and transmitting all at the same time.
So you have to be in an area where there is Wi-Fi.
No, this is transmitting its own Wi-Fi signal. So when I turn this on, I have to connect to that Wi-Fi network, which is this is called a DJI Phantom, and it says Phantom.
Okay. Now you mentioned there's 15,000 of these
out
there right now.
You know, there approximately.
Are they becoming more and more affordable?
Well, obviously, yeah. There's other ones. This one costs around $1,300, but there are other ones that you can buy for $300 and $400. But you know, it's a question of how high they can go, how good.
And how high can they go?
Well, you've got a lot of crazy people out there who take these things high and they change the inside so that it will have an extended range. They've actually taken it up to the tallest building in the world in Dubai and filmed it going down and whatnot. So that, you know, you could go quite high. The law says you're not allowed to go over 400 feet.
Okay, who sets the law?
Well, the FAA set the 400-foot level for recreational.
And who enforces the law?
I have no idea. I've never seen anybody out there enforcing it.
Yeah.
But
so there's a regulation out there that dictates how high you can go.
Correct.
And you know what that regulation is.
Well, it's 400 feet. I mean, higher
Who
than that,
regulates
you're in
licensed?
controlled airspace. There are no licenses for hobbyists who use these things, and that's what I believe is going to change, and that's what a lot of the controversy is right now.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, there are some people that are going to take it beyond what it's supposed to be and beyond its capability.
It's always going to happen.
Make changes and whatever.
Yes.
So there's got to be some way of regulating that.
Well, the FAA, and
particularly if they become more technologically advanced and more affordable at the same time. There was a time when not everybody had a PC.
Correct.
Everybody's got a PC or at least one.
Right.
Now.
But not everybody's going to have a quadcopter.
Maybe not everybody, but they're going to become more and more prevalent.
Yes.
And 15,000 is going to become 30,000 or 300,000.
Yes.
And when that happens, what happens to the traffic, if you will,
well,
on a Saturday afternoon?
I think the only traffic issues you're going to run into clearly are going to be at events or something like that, where there's 2 different or 3 different drones here. The issue isn't traffic. The issue is safety. The issue is the crowd safety, that sort of thing. If you're flying in a field by yourself, that's one thing, because nobody's going to get hurt. You might hit a tree. The truth is that these propellers spin at very high RPM, and it is dangerous. I mean, if this came down next to you, or it would definitely cut you, it would definitely do damage. But they have propeller guards. So I suspect that'll be mandated in the future, that you'll have to use them. And they're also going to restrict access to events where there are a lot of people.
Well, I think I mentioned to you, I know I mentioned to you that at the fireworks, the Guilford fireworks the other night, I saw one of these hovering over the crowd before the fireworks started. I did not notice if it continued during the fireworks. I assume it did. But prior to the beginning of the fireworks, there was one that was definitely going back and forth over the crowd at the fairgrounds. Now, they could come when there could be 2 or 3 or 4 of these doing the same thing.
Well, that's
it's
what
a
I was
popular
saying.
event.
Yeah, I think that would happen.
And is that a consideration?
Well, of course, it's a concern. I mean, it's a concern, obviously,
If
because
they move into the same airspace?
I'm not concerned about them hitting each other. Well, I mean, that could happen, of course, but I'm only concerned with the safety of the crowd. I mean, if you lose control, I mean, there's no standard for the pilots. I mean, there's no course, there's no license or anything. I mean, anybody can buy one of these and anybody can fly it into a crowd.
Now, you mentioned, you obviously are a very responsible person.
That's what I'm told.
Let's hope. But the bottom line is that this is the second one that you've owned. What happened to the first one?
Well, the first, well, unfortunately, the first one did have a malfunction. I should explain that these.
And what happened to it after the malfunction?
Well, it ran away, and it is called a flyaway, and it does happen. Mine was not a complete unique situation. I never did get it back. If somebody out there has it, I appreciate its return. I have some good pictures in it. But it was I was flying, and
but again, you're a very responsible person.
Well,
and you were technically capable of handling it.
Yes,
and yet it got away from you.
Well, there's 2 things you should know. First of all, I was having some issues in terms of communication. It wasn't communicating properly. It wasn't connecting to the satellites. This is after I had. You check it when it's on the ground before it goes up. There are lights on it that tell you whether it's operating correctly, and it was. And it went up and the lights changed and it lost communication, and I tried to bring it down, and then I also lost the picture on my phone, and I lost it. And fortunately it was over the West River and it wasn't in a crowd or anything else. But what I should say is, built into these, and that one had it too and it didn't work, but built into these there is a function whereby if it goes out of range, if you lose control, if the battery dies, it will automatically come back and hover 60 feet above where you started from exactly, and then it will lower itself to the ground right in that location. And I have tested that, and it does work. In the case when I really needed it, it didn't, because it had lost communication. And as long as it has communication or GPS coverage, it'll do that. Mine didn't. There was a malfunction.
If one of these flew into the engine of a jet plane.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, people talk about that, and there were some people recently arrested in New York because they were too close to a helicopter, but the reality, if people keep to using these at 400 feet or under, and there's also a restriction about how close you can go to an airport, then there should be no problem. The obvious thing is that people take them above 400 feet, or and they're being irresponsible. Now, right now, this drone, for instance, you can't fly this. You can't physically fly it within 2 miles of a major airport. It will, if you fly into that airspace 2 miles away,
What about Tweed? Is that major?
There's A airports and there's B airports, and I believe Tweed's a B airport, so you can't be within a mile of Tweed.
Okay, what about an airport like used to exist in Madison on Route 1?
Well, they're all recorded.
There's a private airplane.
They're all recorded. I mean, there's so much information here. All the airports are in there. It will, if you fly into the airspace, that area, it will automatically land. If you are in that area and you try to take off, it won't take off. It's in the chip, in the computer inside, which means they can also do that for altitude as well. And I'm sure that at some point in time they're going to restrict it. Right now it is.
Well, I got to believe that as these become more popular and more available, more affordable, there'll be more and more of them out there, and then you're going to start to see some heavy regulation.
I think so.
I don't know who's going to enforce these regulations. Because if you set this off in your backyard somewhere, who's going to know?
Well, right now, for instance, you're not allowed to do this in a national park. The National Park Association has banned them from all national parks.
Why?
Well, because they were bothering people and bothering animals and that sort of thing. So they.
Okay. Now, there was an incident at Hammonasset where a young man had one of these, and he was flying it over the beach, and some woman felt that this thing was invading her privacy, and she attacked him.
Yeah, I saw the video.
You saw the video?
I saw the video. I mean, I guess that's.
I just read in the paper today she got some sort of modified probation, so there's not any great penalty associated with what she did. But her concern was that somebody was
Yeah, hers was a privacy concern, and she didn't want to be filmed. He was totally within his rights. I mean, you're allowed to do that. I mean, he's not using this film for commercial purposes. You can do that. It's the same thing as taking a picture of somebody with a cell phone in a crowd. I can take your picture. I can take anyone's picture. And if you don't like it, I guess you can hit me. You'll pay for that.
But again, because it's new, people are concerned. They don't understand it. So,
but to be perfectly frank, in my experience, and I've been doing this for a little bit, I've never had one person with an objection. I've never had one person say to me, "Don't do that. I prefer to." I've only had people come over and ask questions and think how cool
Curiosity,
it is.
Which is why you're here, because I'm really curious about this.
I've never had a negative reaction.
Okay, interesting. So what are some of the things that you have done with this? We have some video, right?
Yep, you have video.
Donald, you getting ready to cue up that video? Okay, why don't we have Donald show part of that video that you... Jim has brought an 8-minute video with a variety of local scenes that he's taken, and we'll get to see actually the quality of what this thing can do. And here it goes. Jim, what do you got here?
Well, I don't see anything yet. Oh, there we are.
Oh, there, it's taking off.
Yeah, that was down at the fairgrounds. And but what you're going to see up next is I was asked by someone to take some pictures of the Guilford High School under construction, which we did there. This was actually with my old drone, and you can see it shake a little bit. The newer one doesn't do that. Here's the new one. Well, coming up.
This is kind of like a time lapse.
Well, that was the old one, and then there's the new. That's a 4-month separation between the two of them. And
what's the altitude here? You're almost on the ground.
Well, I just took off, and now I'm going up over the new high school. So you can see what's going on. This is probably about 60 or 70 feet. It's not particularly high. What I found out, the best shots are really not the shots at 400 feet. It's the shots at 100 feet are the most interesting. And when I first got it, I'd go up to 400 and I'd take lots of pictures, and it was great. But now I like the movement of being close to the ground and being able to skim over the ground and see things. And this is the Q Bridge and the Q Bridge construction. I got permission from the engineering firm there to fly up over it, and that's New Haven, as you can see. That's about 300 feet, I'd guess, above New Haven.
Where did you take off to do this?
I was actually in the very middle between two off ramps, right in a new ramp that they were constructing, and that.
My phone. That's okay.
And so anyway. It was right in the middle of a ramp, and I drove up there and I took these pictures. And obviously, you can you get such a better viewpoint with this than you would even think. And I'm going to try to do this again, actually, because it's nice to see the continuation of the.
Okay, what do we got here?
That's Stony Creek. That's down by the docks. This is just taking off in Stony Creek, giving you an idea of what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah, you can stop it there, Donald. We'll pick it up in a few minutes. This is going to be a total of 8 minutes, and what we'll do at the end of this program is run the whole thing in its entirety. But so, what's the attraction to you as the owner of this? Why are you interested in this? What do you get out of it?
Just for the photographs and the video. I've been having a ball. I'm taking the pictures. I've done a couple of videos. I put 1 or 2 of them on YouTube. I have video on Vimeo. I did one.
If somebody wants to see one of those videos, how would they find it?
I think they just search on my name and it would come up, and it probably would.
So YouTube, Jim Goodridge?
Yeah. Yeah. And that would do. Those are actually on YouTube are some older ones with the older drone, but they're all pretty much all of Guilford. In fact, I have a video. There's some pictures that we'll see in a while of the green, and I flew from the green, which was really great during the winter time without leaves on the trees, so you can see quite a bit. I mean, that's the beauty of it. You're above the green. You can see the layout of the sidewalks. You can see the Congregational Church, and you can see the Catholic Church, and you can see down Whitfield Street. I mean, it's not anything that you've actually seen before. You can get those shots, as I said, from an airplane, but it's not exactly the same. The detail here is better, and there's drama to it. It's really.
Now, you're a local builder developer. Do you use this for business? Can you?
Those are 2 very good questions. I have very limited use for that. I have used it limitedly for that, but legally I can't use it commercially anyway. I'm not allowed to use this in a commercial way. as you know, as a realtor. You're going to.
Yeah, actually, I received an email from the National Association of Realtors regarding realtors using this for business purposes, and it says that the FAA released a clarification of its decision to regulate the use of drones. They call them UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, in commercial applications. The FAA determined the use of a drone by realtors to take photographs of property would not qualify for the hobby or recreational use exemptions. As such, realtors utilizing a drone for any business purpose would be subject to all existing FAA rules and regulations.
Correct.
You would fall into the same category.
If I used it for that, yes, I'd have to be licensed, and it's not something that.
So how do you get a license?
Well, I'm not sure what the process is. Obviously, you have to apply to the FAA, and from what I know, they're not granting many licenses right now because they're trying to wait until rules and regulations have been formulated for the use of quadcopters.
Plus, I mean, a rule or a regulation that is either unenforceable or difficult to enforce is really of no use.
Well, I don't know that it may be
who's
difficult.
Going to dictate? I mean, who's going to come down on you if you were to take an aerial photograph of a subdivision that you're doing right now, and you use it to show it to a client? This is what the whole neighborhood's going to look like, or what it will.
Correct, and I'm not sure
Who's going to enforce that?
And I'm not sure that particular usage is illegal because I'm using it for my own private work. I'm not selling the photograph. You know, I'm not sure how they will interpret that exactly.
Well, for realtors to use it in marketing,
if you're
it would
marketing,
be the same situation
I suppose
to
to some extent, but there is no enforcement for that. I mean, I don't know of any instance where, and I'm sure there have been, but I don't know of any instance where that's been enforced. That's the only rule that I know of that the FAA has, aside from the 400-foot limit and the proximity
Do
to
you see
airports.
a day when these become more prevalent and there are other users in the area where you form some sort of a relationship with them and compare notes and that sort of thing? You see a club being born out of this, or an association being born out of this?
They already have that. You know, they have forums and everything. I mean, when there's something new like this, there's always people getting together saying, I broke this, how do you do this? That's how I found out that I'm not the only person who had a flyaway, for instance.
Yeah.
And how to guard against that in the future.
But you don't, in general, step aside from the fact that this is your drone, your quadcopter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You finally got that.
I do have it down now. Well, you never mentioned that before until today. So just step aside for a minute. You can understand why the general public, unknowing what these things are all about, not really having the knowledge and understanding the capabilities and the problems that could exist, why people might be concerned.
I understand why people might be concerned, but right now it's in the papers and there is a hysteria drummed up, and a lot of it is not deserved. It's a little over the top. I mean, right now these don't provide a real threat, to your privacy. It would be difficult.
But they could.
Yes, they could. They probably will at some point in time. Right now they don't. But there still is a lot of hysteria involved. Like, for instance, I mean, people are calling them drones, and so they are,
So you
there is
associate
that,
with the military drone.
Exactly. It's that association with firearms and weapons. This is a flying camera. The problem is you need somebody to pilot it that's not going to run it into a crowd or damage something or whatnot. That's pretty much what
the
the
term drone came from.
The drones, it's a bee, a worker bee. Those are the ones who flew around and did that. And then the military adopted the word drone, and that's what they used it for.
And do you think at some point these will be referred to as something else?
No.
Not a quadcopter.
No.
I mean, who's gonna remember that?
No. To be perfectly honest, I don't say it either. I say drone, but I'm doing it now because just to set the record straight.
Do you see yourself as being involved in the formation of regulations? Do you see yourself as an interested hobbyist that might get involved in what's going to take place down the road? This is going to happen. And in order for it to happen, people are going to have to attend public hearings and testify and be available to give information about what these things do.
Yeah, I have, I would, because I have some ideas to how to make these a little bit safer. And I don't think it's rocket science. I think a licensing program, prop guards on all the props, that sort of thing, and restrictions on certain flight areas or times or whatnot. The reason why you saw this at the fireworks the other day was probably because there's a viral video going around where somebody took one of these, same model, and flew it into fireworks. and
Flew it into fireworks.
flew it into fireworks, risked its demise. But it was an amazing video because these are bursting right in front of the camera, things you just never seen it before. I mean, it was an amazing video, and so I thought about
You
doing
would
it.
not recommend that.
I thought about it. I thought about doing that, and
But what are the consequences of that besides damaging your?
well, you're
your
flying
drone?
at night, so you're going to lose control. You're not going to see it. A lot of times you don't
There were
see
10,000 people at the fairgrounds.
Exactly.
If that thing failed and landed on somebody's head,
it. Exactly. But you could maybe have flown this from behind the fireworks on the other side where there weren't people and kept it that way, and that wouldn't have been a bad idea.
but I got to tell you, there were people on all sides. There were people on the lawn at the Whitfield Museum.
Yeah, well, there always
There were
is.
people at the town green. There were people all over town watching fireworks. So there really was no safe angle on this.
It's probably true, and one of the reasons why I wouldn't want to attempt that. I mean, I've done it a lot, and I think I've only done it once when there was a crowd around.
Did I read somewhere that some movie star got married in a private ceremony on their estate, and somebody flew a drone over to get photographs of it?
No, that's a good use of the drone.
You think that's a good
I
use?
think that's a good use.
But that's an
just
invasion of
fine.
privacy.
Well, perhaps. But they probably like that anyway. I don't have a lot of sympathy for celebrities who lose their privacy from picture.
If I were to purchase a 12-foot boat with a 10 horsepower outboard motor on it, I'd have to register that.
That's true.
Will these become registered
Definitely.
at some point?
Definitely.
And
No question about it.
Every one of these will have an owner attached to it.
Yeah, you're going to have to register it because they're going to want to know when this thing ends up in the middle of the crowd, whose is it? And and then registration, they get to raise money,
So
obviously.
you're not ruling out that possibility.
Oh, I think it's definite. I think it's absolute. I think that's one of the first things they're going to do. I think they're going to do registration. They're going to do some piloting instructions that you have to go through something. They're going to go through propeller guards. They're going to do.
Are these things insurable?
I thought about that, and I think they are, and it might be a welcome thing for some of the owners. I would like to have insured my first one, and that would have been a great
Well, I mean,
thing.
from the liability point of view. Yeah, the casualty is one thing, but the
I think
liability.
the insurance companies are going to stand back for a while. I don't think they're going to jump right into it from a liability standpoint. From a
Yeah,
casualty
there's a
standpoint,
whole market there, and a growing market.
there's definitely a growing market, but how do you determine what a premium should be for this when there's
Well,
no
it's gonna
track
be huge.
record of anything?
It's going to be huge,
Well, yeah.
I would think. So, would you recommend this? And who would you recommend it to? And do you think there should be an age limit on this? You know, my 11-year-old grandson could probably handle this.
He could. I've
hell of a
seen
lot
him.
better than me.
That's right.
Yeah.
You have to keep that in mind. I mean, I'm older, and it's taken me. It takes a lot of concentration because you're taking pictures, shooting videos, checking the radar, checking your satellites and your location, and you're flying it all at the same time. So this is not something where if you're not really into it, you're not concentrating, or you've had a few to drink or something like that. Not a good thing to do.
Drinking and driving.
You don't want to drink and drone. That's my motto.
Drink and drone.
Yep.
Yeah,
that would definitely be a problem. But I don't know about age limits. About restricting it to age limits. I don't think so. But a little.
Well, you know that's going to happen too.
I don't. Well, probably. Yeah. But I think it's be more in pilot instruction. I think that.
All right, let's
that's
pick
more
up a little bit more of this
Okay.
video. Donald, you got us ready to go? Let's get the next few minutes of the 8 minutes. Now, where are we now?
That's down at Stony Creek, looking out at the dock over there, and that was. This will pick up, and this is the.
That's you taking off.
That's me taking off. Yeah, from the dock down there. It was a nice day.
Beautiful.
I mean, we're really lucky here because there are so many places to fly around here. I mean, I've been to places I haven't been to in a couple of years, and I'm taking it, and it's
Look at
been
the horizon.
great. Well, the horizon.
What is the, yeah.
That is curved because the lens is such a wide-angle lens. It's curved. That is, you're not seeing the curve of the Earth. This, by the way, is down at Leeds Island, and this is the beach down there, which was really worked out very nicely. There's a shot coming up on this one where it shows flying over the houses. So if you want to talk about privacy,
Yeah.
you can sort of see, which I don't normally do. But
you did do it.
I did do it. But you can see how you can't see anything, Tony. You can see the roof. You can see.
Well,
the
you're up
structure.
pretty high. What's the altitude right now?
That's probably about 200, 300 feet or
Yeah,
something
if you went
like
down
that.
to 60 feet or 40 feet.
Yeah, but I don't think you could see it 40 feet. I don't think 40 feet. Here it is right here. You're probably right now. You're probably you're under 100 feet. You're probably about 80 or 90 feet up there. Let me turn it off there.
What happened here? Okay, so
That was the begin. We're seeing the beginning again.
that's the beginning. Okay, Donald, you can stop it there, and somewhere along the line, you're gonna have to try to find out where the rest of that video is. We have technical difficulties.
That's okay.
That all ends here.
Well, see, we all have technical difficulties.
Well, there's human error, and there's people that are just careless.
I know.
And I think that's, I wouldn't be concerned about you owning this and what you're going to do with it, because I know you. I've known you for a long time. I know who you are. But in general, there's some people could take this and abuse it.
Of course.
It's abusable.
Absolutely, and it will be. I mean, that's going to happen. They're going to take it to a football game at college or whatever, and they're going to fly it over the field, and they're going to fly it into the crowd. I mean, I saw a video where they did it at a wedding, which was not a bad use for it. It was a wedding photographer, and he ran it into the groom and the bride.
Really?
Yeah, it hit the groom in the head. It didn't hurt him, but it was, and he was laughing, but it was lucky. It's difficult. It is not easy necessarily to fly. You really do have to concentrate.
Most of what you've shown us takes place in a very rural, non-populated area.
Right.
What about these in cities? And I know you've gone into the Guilford Green, you've gone downtown Guilford and done this, but I'm talking about going into New York or Bridgeport or a really populated area with tall buildings.
Yeah, it's dangerous. The problem is that you don't have that perspective. If you're flying and the drone is 30, 40, 50 feet away from you, it's hard to judge how close it is to other objects. You just don't have that depth perception to tell you. It's not that easy. All of a sudden you're closer than you anticipated. In my video, I have a
Does it have any kind of mechanism that would cause this to avoid another
there is
solid object?
not right now.
Do you think that'll happen?
Well, it's a good question. You could load any kind of thing into this and make. I don't know that that'll happen or not. It might.
That's a good safety device.
Well, a better safety device is to have propeller guards on these things. I saw a guy was at doing a water tower. He was filming a water tower, and he couldn't see how close he was, and he ran right into it. The thing flipped over, but it didn't hurt anything, and it corrected by itself. So it was. I think that's paramount. I don't know whether they're going to have a proximity sensor or something like that, but I was about to say that I flew it down. I was taking pictures of the Henry Whitfield house, and I was in the front lawn of the Henry Whitfield house, and I'm standing in the middle of the lawn, and I was moving this from right to left because I wanted to take a panning shot of the building, and it ran right into a tree. I knew the tree was there.
Altitude, obviously.
Yeah, it was
30 feet. Or
yeah, about 30 feet, and I would,
I noticed that tree is dead now. They just took it away. Did you notice?
I pruned it and didn't charge the town for the pruning, but it's because the tree. This was between myself and the tree, so I couldn't judge that distance. I saw the tree. I knew it was there, but I misjudged the distance, and it it did damage the camera on it, but I did fix it.
Okay, you got the video up again? Donald, you want to roll it? Okay, where are we now?
Okay, now you're down by Jacobs Beach, and that's the new boardwalk. The new boardwalk at Jacobs Beach. For this.
I love the way that turned out, by the way.
Yeah, they did. Will Thompson did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really worked out well, and it's a good use for that. I mean, for the town of Guilford, you can promote some things. I mean, you would get to see Guilford.
What height are you at right now?
I'd say 80 or 90 feet, something like that. That's not particularly high. There was a shot before this that was much higher, and that was probably 300 feet, something like that. It's funny. I mean, that's probably around. That's maybe 300 feet there. That's flying over by the yacht club, and you can see, of course, the train in the distance.
So you're at the south end of Whitfield Street.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
it's right
before the marina.
It's right in the yacht club. Now I don't fly there. I used to fly there a lot, but there's the nests the eagle's nests over there, so I don't.
Yes, there is, yeah.
So I don't go anywhere near that. I actually was asked to see if I could take pictures of it, and I wouldn't do
Yeah,
it.
it's one thing to have the safety people on your back. When you get the environmentalists on your back, you got a real problem.
Yeah, well,
you don't want to go.
I'm not ab- I'm not
you don't
about
want to go disturbing an eagle's nest.
Yeah, I'm not about to get close to an eagle, so I haven't been back there for a while. I'll go back when they leave the nest probably.
Although that would be an interesting shot, wouldn't it? If you could get up.
Of course, it would be interesting, but you got to resist that. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is scare the eagles. I don't know if it would or it wouldn't. I did though. There was an osprey nest over by Chaffinch Island, and I went, 40, 50 feet away from that. They couldn't have cared less.
Is that right?
Oh,
Yeah.
they didn't pay any attention to it. So
What are we looking at? Is the train?
that's the train. That's also down near Stony Creek. That's behind Medlin's farm.
Yeah.
This is looking out toward the Thimble Islands, and that's a still shot looking for the Thimble Islands. It's not all videos.
Oh, there you go. There's the
And
green.
that's the Guilford Green.
Now you're pretty low here.
Oh yeah, that's it's probably 15, 20 feet.
Is that video or is that a photograph?
There's probably a little bit of both. That right there was a photograph.
Okay.
That's a photograph. And you can see St. George's, and this is the kind of stuff that I find really interesting. And with the sidewalks and the
Yeah, the quality is great.
and that was with my older drone, by the way. And this is down at the Henry Whitfield
Ooh,
house.
you just hit a tree.
That's it. That's what happens.
Okay.
And I went downtown Baltimore with my daughter, and I was flying over there. This is a little trio of boom shots where you got to watch what you're doing. That was it wasn't handling right.
Now, if there was a person in the way of that, what would
There it's
happen?
flipping out over there. You'd get cut. If that had hit my daughter's leg or mine, that would have been a problem. But then you get to capture stuff like this, down in Grass Island in the wintertime.
Oh, there's the little red.
Yeah, that's a
Little red
terrific place to
cottage.
go. And then you can see look at the fractures in the ice on the water. I mean, that's something you would never see without this,
No, it's beautiful. Now, this has obviously some application for the Economic Development Commission, for Town of Guilford, and for maybe the Chamber of Commerce, those kinds of things. Now, if you were to give them this to use, would that be a violation of this commercial regulation?
I don't think so, and of course I would be willing to do something like that if they wanted
you?
to. Oh yeah, if they wanted to have that, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't charge for it.
But they couldn't hire you to go out and do a specific shot.
I don't think so. I think that's the one rule that you can't violate. That's the commercial rule.
But you could donate your time.
I think so. See, I'm saying that because I don't know
Would you?
absolutely. Yes, if it's a solicitation, sure. I
Well,
would.
I'm not. Maybe somebody from EDC is watching right now and they want to use you, or the chamber is watching, and
Yeah, I'd be happy to do it. I took pictures of the high school back in January.
Did you give that to the Board of Ed?
Yeah, that was for the 375th committee.
okay.
There's a website, and they posted that video, and they posted some of the stills on the website. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. That was fine. I mean, just following the construction of the high school is interesting. I intend to keep doing that. Just to see the progress. And I'm sorry that I didn't do more of that. Actually, there's a big gap between January and June. So-
Where do you start? Like, where are you when you start doing that? Right on the grounds?
Yeah,
Because you can't even get on the grounds anymore. I think they have that
fence.
fenced off. Yeah.
Yeah. I had permission when I first shot the first portion of that video back in January
Permission from.
from the clerk of the works down there
okay.
at the job site. They said it was all right. They were fine with it.
Yeah.
They were very interested in it, and the guys working on it thought it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had a good time. The second time, I just went over to one of the fields over in the high school, and I just shot it.
Good deal.
It was a Sunday, so there was nobody around. I wanted to do it without anybody around.
Obviously, you're having fun with this.
Oh yeah, I'm having a ball.
Yeah. And do you see, when somebody starts out with a 16-foot Glastron boat and they move up to a 21-footer, and then they're up to, you know, before you know it, they got a big power boat, 38 feet long. Do you see yourself moving up?
It's already getting expensive, so I'm not sure about moving up. I'm pretty happy with where I am right now.
Yeah.
If there was one that had perhaps a little better resolution or a little longer lens or something on the camera, maybe. The camera is the issue. You can still get one of these and put a GoPro camera on it, and that produces quite good quality. But they don't all have what's called FPV, or first-person view. They don't all have where you can look at it. See, I can see what the drone is seeing, and that's really important.
Yeah, because if you couldn't, you'd be just estimating.
Well, right, and that's how they've been for the last, for the last year and a half or so.
When did these actually come on the scene for recreation?
Well, probably about 2 years ago. It was the advent, you have lithium batteries now that produce a lot of power in a lightweight package. That's what makes this possible. Otherwise, it could never work.
Power meaning it can stay up there for a long time and it can go high.
Yeah, this has about a 20-minute cycle. And I have 2 batteries, so you put one in, go for another 20 minutes.
And these are rechargeable.
Of course, yeah. But 20 minutes is a long time. You can get a lot of pictures in 20 minutes.
If you're doing 3-minute segments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a micro SD card that's in there, so you record onto the micro SD card, and then you take it out and put it into the computer.
That's how you do it. Okay.
Yeah.
You could also record on your phone.
You can.
Simultaneously.
Actually, it's not simultaneously, but if there's information on the SD card, pictures or whatnot, once it's down, you can turn it all on and transfer it over to your phone.
All right. Again, you've adapted your smartphone to become the monitor for what's going on here.
That's how that works.
Are there models out there that have the monitor built in?
I think much more expensive ones, the kind that people use for actual commercial filming and commercial usage, but not for hobby usage.
That obviously would make a lot of sense too.
Oh yeah.
When these become more affordable, that would be an upgrade. That would be.
But I can actually use my iPad if I had a way of securing it. Often I fly the drone and my daughter uses the camera. She looks at it, and that's a really good way for me because I can just concentrate on one thing. So what we can do also, though, is that we can do that with an iPad, so you can get a bigger picture while you're looking at it.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that ability to see where you're flying, obviously.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to add that we have not discussed? What do you think is important for people to know?
Well, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. It's a good hobby. But you do have to be careful if you think you're going to invest in it, because I lost my first one. That was a $1,100 mistake, and that hurt.
Yeah.
And I was debating whether to do it again, and I did. So.
And your wife was debating whether you
yes,
should
exactly.
do it again.
Exactly.
Your daughter said, "Go for it."
Yep. But it was, it was a good thing. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got the other one. This is an upgrade from my first model because this one has what's known as the gimbal on the camera, which I didn't mention before. And the gimbal is, as you know, being at GCTV, the gimbal keeps the video straight and level and keeps.
Wow, this is 45 minutes long. Would you believe this program?
No.
Yeah,
I thought we just got here.
Yeah. All right, tell me about the gimbal again.
The gimbal, which I guess was developed originally for video photographers, I mean, it keeps the camera completely straight. It's electronically controlled. That's why it's such you see it so undisturbed, so calm.
Regardless of the environment.
Of the wind or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, without it, as you could see in the first picture I had of the high school, it was jittery and jumping all around. So that was a good improvement. And that kind of thing is a good step forward.
All right, we're coming to the end of this. So
Okay.
What I'd like to do, Donald, if you can hear me, what I would like to do now is if you could cue up that video, maybe play it from start to finish, and we will then end the program. And if you'd like, you could put the credits on at the end of the video. Does that work for you? Okay, I'm talking to Donald Beckler, who's directing this program. This is a little bit more technical than the programs that we usually do because we generally don't incorporate photographs or video into a discussion that we're having. So we're hoping that this turns out okay. I think it has. We're hoping the sound is good as well because we had a problem with that before we got started tonight. There's also a couple of interns here. Sam was here on the camera that was focused in on the drone itself. We want to thank him. And Miles is in there, I think, controlling sound for us. And of course, we want to thank Shannon Gale, who, nothing really happens here without her assistance. So we want to thank her for that. And Jim, I want to thank you for being here and taking some of those tough questions from a good friend. But I wanted to make sure that I brought as much of what I thought were the concerns were in the public eye.
It's fine. I just think the only thing that we didn't do is we didn't fly it around the studio.
Yeah, we got to try that next time.
Shannon, come over here. I need you.
Would you be able to control it in a small environment like this? I would go in the next room or in the control room while you did that. By the way.
Well, I've never done it. You can see where the camera just came up in live over there.
Oh yeah.
But I've never done it in an enclosed space, and that would be very dangerous. We wouldn't want to do that.
You got the lights flashing. Now, when this is flying, are these lights flashing?
Oh yeah, that tells you that you're connected to the satellites, and
Okay.
and that's important.
You're not going to try to fly it, are you?
You don't want me to?
Go ahead, start it. Let me see what happens.
Well, I'm not starting it here because I don't want a bloodbath. I don't think. No, I think we'd be better off not doing that. I was just going to see if I get a picture up on the screen there, but nope. That's a safety. See, there it is with the Wi-Fi. You can see that.
All right, so we're going to go back to that 8-minute video, and we're going to finish with that.
Sounds like
And
a good
again,
idea.
Jim, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Go ahead, Donald. And if you want to talk during this, you can do that as well.
Well, we've seen the first part of it, so that I was gonna show you.
There's the high school at the very beginning, and then a little bit later,
Yeah, that.
yeah, and a little bit more. And that's a really high altitude there. We got to be a couple hundred feet.
But but it's probably only a couple of hundred feet. I mean, it's not. I don't think that's 400 feet or higher than that. As I said, there's not a lot of pictures in this video that are super high. I mean, what I really want
Now
to.
you're going to continue to do this and put together a whole program, maybe.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. Come on, let's get over here. There we go.
Yeah, you can see it advancing.
So that's straight
Oh,
down.
I see what you're doing. Okay.
You can see it come up. But yeah, the one in the Kew Bridge is very
While
interesting.
you folks at home are watching this video, Jim is actually activated the camera on the drone, on the quadcopter, and he's actually showing me how the photographs actually switch from the drone to his cell phone, which is on the control. And he's got a picture of my hands, or his hands now.
Yeah, but we actually have connected to 5 satellites inside here, which is pretty impressive. I could almost fly it.
Now, who else can see this?
Right now, just you and me.
That's it. Yeah, it's coming off a satellite, so we think somebody
Well-
would have the technology to get into this as well.
No, this is the phone is connected. The screen is connected to the drone through the quadcopter
let me just
by Wi-Fi.
turn this so people can see it. On his cell phone here, actually the camera is taking a shot right now from the satellite to the app back to the camera. I'll be back to your cell phone. So it's
And you
taking
can
a picture of
see,
itself.
when I turn it, you can see the camera stays
Oh, I see that.
stays
Yeah.
in one position.
It's focused on what's here.
Yeah, so that's part of the gimbal working.
Yeah. All right, good deal. All right, guys, we're going to call this a day. We've just under an hour, I believe. So, Donald, roll that, and
Thank you.